What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. We're going over BBCan11, episode number 26. It was the eviction episode, plus we had the Wendy's point auction, which we'll talk about, as well as a jury segment. There's a good bit to go over. We got the start of the HOH comp. So there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about from this episode. There wasn't a daily today, but we did get a little bit of stuff from the jury, mainly about, who they think has a good chance of winning different stuff. So maybe we could touch on that as well. But before we get into all of that, I do want to kind of self-promote here a little bit. I always talk about the links to all of my socials down in the description down below. There's a pinned comment too. You can check out things like my Twitter, my Twitch, my Discord, and the new Kick stream. So over on Kick, we've been watching Survivor every Wednesday. It's been a lot of fun doing that. But on Thursday, this upcoming week from now, next Thursday, May 11th, it's the finale for BBCan11. It's also my birthday. So we're going to be doing kind of a big Ori-palooza. There's going to be a pre-show, post-show. We're going to be watching the episode, like legit watching the episode along with you guys. So it'll be a lot of fun. Kind of like what I used to do here on YouTube for the Big Brother episodes, but we'll actually be able to watch the full episode there on Kick. So make sure you are following that and come hang out. It's going to be a good time. Now, let's jump into the actual episode itself. We started with the fallout from the veto competition, and Daniel kind of thinks, listen, I think Ty's going to be honest. I think he's going to keep me around. I don't think he's going to vote me out, but he says overall it's a tough situation to be in. And he said it's also kind of awkward. Like after the ceremonies, people are usually splitting up, going to have chats about what they're going to be doing. But here everybody's just kind of sitting there and they all get the giggles. Like they were legit just all laughing. They couldn't kind of help it. Meanwhile, though, Anika over the whole situation is just having a pity party. She's not smiling. She's not laughing. She's not having a good time with it throughout the days leading up to the eviction. And Daniel kind of confronts her on it. He's like, listen, you have to fake it until you make it. And he's right. That is such an important part of this game that people don't do, is even if you're having the most boring conversation in the world, you got to pretend like it's the most interesting thing you've ever heard, because having these relationships and having these conversations with other house guests could be the difference between them voting for you to win or voting you out of the game or anything in between. Like, you need to fake it until you make it. And Daniel is 100% right with this. One of the things I always remember is on BBCan 10, or not BBCan 10, but BB10, Dan actually talked about how no matter what happened that day, whether they were fighting and yelling or they were getting along, no matter what the circumstances of that day was, he would always at night make sure to go say goodnight to Jerry. And it's just something that's those little things, right? Those little things in this game that can make it or break you in this game. Now, we can move on from that, where we do get Renee, who kind of tells Ty, like, listen, I want to go to the end with the best. Like, I want to beat the best in the end. So I would end up taking you. How much that's true, I don't really know. I think if she had the decision to take Claudia or Ty, she would take her friend Claudia over anybody else. So I think that was more of just like a little bit of a last ditch effort to get Ty to keep her around rather than keep Daniel. Speaking of Daniel again, we find out that the house is on slop. Daniel has like a mini freak out. He's like, no. He's like brushing his teeth. He's running downstairs. But this all leads up to the Wendy's points. What are the Wendy's points going to be? We had this big looming mystery from the beginning of the season when they were first announced. We were like, what are they going to be for? How are they going to be used? Will they be used in a competition? Are they going to be able to give you an advantage in the game? Like, what will this end up being? We had Spicy V who showed up, and she is the one who kind of is the MC for this. She's the host of this auction, the auctioneer. And really, it was just prizes more than anything else. There were only really two, like, game advantages, and the last one that was the big prize really wasn't that special anyway. But Ty had almost double the points of everyone else. Not actually. He had about 30k. Claudia had about like 18K. Everybody else was around 8,000 points. So he had more points than Daniel, Anika, and Renee combined. So that is ridiculous. He was pretty much sitting in the driver's seat of this auction. The first prize was $1,000 cash. Renee ended up getting that one. The next one was a Wendy's meal, which literally, like, it wasn't even just a meal. It was like 5 burgers, 3 drinks, 7 fries. He had nuggets, Frosties. Like, it was a tray of food. Like, there was probably 300,000 calories on this tray. It was ridiculous how much food it was. It felt more like I was watching Survivor than I was watching Big Brother on how much food they were offering here at this thing. But Ty ends up getting that. We also had a video from home, which Claudia ended up getting. There was $3,000 cash, which Daniel kind of went all in on, and he ended up getting that. Then probably the biggest prize, the one that was probably the most valuable, was a 1-minute plea to the jury. What I'm assuming is pretty much they get to make a video, probably in the diary room, to the jury saying, like, this is my game, this is what I did, this is why I deserve to win, and Ty gets it. No one even bids against him because they know he just has so many more points than them. Next up, we get a phone call from home, which Renee and Anika, excuse me, go back and forth with bids for, but Anika ends up winning it. And then the final prize was a strategy session with Tayshawn, the winner of BBCan11, who, don't get me wrong, Ty from BBCan11, gotta be very careful on which ties I say here, because both of them were called Ty. So Ty from BBCan11, he's one of the best players that we've really ever seen. He was very good socially. He was very good strategic player, and he was also very good at competitions. So he's kind of a nice Ty, right? Like Ty is a nice Ty. Ty that we have on this season is kind of a mean, curmudgeon-y Ty. There's too many ties. Why the Ty squared is going on right now. But Ty ends up winning the strategy session with Ty. So many ties. But the big thing with this is, how much can he really even give you advice without it being game breaking? Even if you go and you watch the clip again, he has an earpiece in his ear. So they were 100% giving him stuff in his ear to say, and also probably more so what not to say. In there, like, I'm sure he wasn't allowed to say things like, oh, you know, Santina was the invisible HOH or something like that, right? Like, he can't give him things that the other house guests wouldn't know. But he can kind of give him advice on, like, okay, like, his basic advice was, when I was at Final 5, I figured out who the big targets were, and then I went after them. But not only did I do that, I tried to make sure it was my move and that I could claim credit for it, which Ty really doesn't have to worry about. He's had control in this game for pretty much the last 3 HOHs. By winning the veto, he ended up taking control from them and making it where he pretty much was the one who was in power that week. So it was kind of a pointless prize to have that. It was really just more of a glorified spot to have a former winner on there. But yeah, I like the idea of the auctions. I really do. I think they add a really fun dynamic. I always love them on Survivor. But I wish that the prizes were a little bit more game related. Like, have at least one prize in there where, I don't know, the next competition you get an advantage and it's like a 5-minute bonus to your time. So you get 5 minutes off of whatever your final time is, right? Imagine if in the last veto competition, Daniel had a 5-minute bonus to his time, he beats Ty, right? That's a huge thing that they could have had in there, but they didn't really do. It would be kind of interesting to see more of that kind of stuff put into play. Obviously, the video from home and the phone call from home, those are very big emotional supports, but this late in the game, do you really need that? I'm not 100% sure. Again, it kind of goes back to people who were like, oh, the letter, that wasn't an advantage. Like, no, it was an advantage because it was an emotional advantage for Hope. How many people did we have quit this season, right? Like, It's very hard to be in that house separated from your family, and having that little bit of an emotional boost, no matter how big or small it is huge and really helps you in the game. But at this point, right, like, did the video from home really help Claudia, going forward that much? I'm not sure. Could it be an emotional boost? Absolutely. But game wise, does it really help her? Not so much. She can't use that letter to gain use that video from home to gain the trust of anybody else, like someone did. But yeah, it was a cool idea. I just didn't like the execution of it. I'd like to see it come back again. I wouldn't mind it. Maybe there needs to be something to kind of regulate the points better. I don't know about being able to give all your points to a fellow house guest after eviction. Maybe half your points go to a house guest, or they limit, like, oh, you get to pick 3 house guests to give points to, so the points get spread out a little bit more. Because Ty ended up with all the freaking points. It was crazy. But other than that, we had a jury segment where we got to see Hope writing a letter. Okay. They're just messing with us now at this point, right? Like, they're literally dangling it over our head, right? And we also got to see Kuzi just be the most bitter jury member that I can remember in years. She is so bitter to Daniel and Anika. She was saying how she carried them on her back and how they turned their back on her. And she's just the most bitter house guest that I've seen in a very, very long time. In fact, when Shanae finally showed up to the jury house, she's celebrating and dancing, and she's so happy now again. And then she's like the first one to hug her. It's like, Kuzi, relax. Just relax, okay? But then that was pretty much it. They did have the jury kind of seem like they're kind of leaning towards Ty now at this point. Like, more of them in there are really digging how he's such an underdog at this point, and he's winning the competitions. Like I said, we didn't get a digital daily today because the eviction actually happened yesterday, and then they showed it today. It was a whole thing. But we did instead get some things from the jury, them answering questions about like who they would like to see win and stuff like that. Pretty much Hope is still on board with, he wants to vote for a member of the Crown. I think Jonathan's kind of on that same track too, so he would probably vote for Daniel and Anika over anybody else in the final 2. Dan, I think he's full on voting Ty. Santina was saying that she is feeling comp wins or maybe something that she'll value the most, so she would probably end up voting for Ty, as crazy as that seems. I think she respects his game the most out of everybody that's left in the house. Because that's the one thing you have to remember. The jury doesn't come down to like, oh, in the final 2, who actually played the best game. It's who the jury respects their game the most, right? And let's say, just for example, Anika gets all the way to the final 2. If no one in the jury really respects what she did in the game, she's not going to win. Same thing can happen with Ty, right? Ty could win every competition, get to the final 2, but they don't respect his game, right? They're like, oh, well, you know what? You played a terrible social game, and to me, I don't really care. So they might vote against him for that reason. Also, on top of that, it's whoever your friends really are, right? Except if you're Kuzi, because it seems like Kuzi is dead set against not voting for Daniel and Anika at this point and would vote for Ty, which really I think says a lot. I think that means that she was more friends with Ty than she was with Daniel and Anika, which is kind of wild. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the jury ends up voting if Ty is there, and who he's sitting next to really matters, because I think at this point, Ty might have this thing locked up. Because in the end, with this eviction, it all came down to what Ty wants. He had all the power to pick who goes. He could vote with Claudia and they could send Daniel out of the house, or he could split the vote, have Claudia vote with Daniel, have Ty would vote for Renee to be evicted, and then Anika has to break that tie, which is what we ended up seeing. Ty voted for Renee, and Claudia voted for Daniel, and Anika had to send Renee out the door. I don't know if Ty and Claudia necessarily had like an actual conversation where he's like, yeah, no, it's cool, like just vote her out, it's fine. Or if they didn't, that really kind of shows Claudia, like, again, going against Ty, which maybe in a final 2-3 scenario, if Ty has the choice, maybe he's just like, you know what, Claudia, you've gone against me too many times. I'm taking Daniel, which would be a wild scenario. But that then takes us to, oh, before that, there was one more thing I want to mention. During the post-eviction interview, uh, they were kind of asking Renee, like, oh, you know, what do you think of Claudia? Are you disappointed in her not, you know, siding with you all the time and not putting Ty on the block when she had a chance to? And Renee says that Claudia can sometimes go with Ty because she's in heat, basically calling her a dog, which I could not believe when she said that. I normally don't focus much on the post interviews, but that was a comment that really blew me away when it happened. But then we end up going to the HOH competition, which took place in the library. They didn't even do it in the backyard. I'm guessing maybe because they already have the veto set up for the backyard. I am really wondering if we even get many more dailies. We might get a daily tomorrow. We might get a daily on Saturday. But I have a feeling that we're going to be into the final 3 by Tuesday or Wednesday's episode airtime. Like, I think it will already have happened. So we might not actually get it daily until those episodes air. I'm not 100% sure. There hasn't been any official word, but we'll see. But we did get the start of the HOH competition, and we got 2 questions from it. It was all about days, like which day did, you know, this happen and which day did this happen. The first question, Ty and Daniel both get correct, but Claudia misses, so they each get a point. And then on the second question, Daniel misses it, and Ty and Claudia get it right, so they get a point, meaning that at this moment, Ty leads this competition 2 points to 1 each for Daniel and Claudia. Ty's going to win this game at this point. He's guaranteed, even if he loses this competition, he has a second shot at winning veto, right? And that gets him to the final 3. Then in the final 3 scenario, the first competition is usually somewhat endurance based, whether they have to like balance like bricks and move them across like a path and build something up or something along those lines. It's usually something that, you know, Ty's physicality will help him with. But the fact that they've been helping Ty study days all season long, like this isn't a new thing. Like when the dailies first came out, they were all openly studying the days and being like, oh yeah, day 7, this is when that HOH happened, and day 15, this is when that happened. So they've been helping Ty study this entire time. And at this point, he's going to win out, and he's going to win every competition because they helped him do it. That was the one thing I wasn't sure about is, all right, Ty will win the first part of the HOH because he's going to get to the final 3. He's got 2 shots to get there and lock it up. So he'll win the first part of the HOH, but that gets him to the third part HOH, which again is usually something to do with like memory and kind of remembering things that happened in the house. But if he's been studying with everybody and he's doing this well already where he gets both questions right, he's probably going to win part 3 as well. He'll have the choice on who he wants to take to the final 2 with him. And I think if he wins out, I just don't know if the jury cannot give him the money then. I feel like they're going to just give him the prize. Like, no matter who's sitting next to him, I feel like he will have a really good shot. If he's sitting next to Daniel or Anika, he might not have Jonathan and he might not have Hope's vote. But he'll have Dan, he'll have Santina, probably have Nene, maybe Kuzi as well. It seems like Kuzi's very much on board with Ty now at this point, and she's so bitter to Daniel and Anika. I feel like Ty wins in any of those final 2 scenarios with them two. As far as one with Claudia, that one's maybe kind of up in the air too, but I feel like, again, Dan, Santina, Kuzi, maybe Nene would all vote for Ty. Hope would probably vote for Ty because he has a much closer relationship with Ty than Claudia. And Jonathan would probably end up voting Claudia. So then again, Ty takes that. If for some reason Ty doesn't get to the final two though, and it's Anika versus Daniel, I think Anika probably takes that one because it seems like people are giving her the best shot to win. But that could also just be like, oh, they think Daniel's going to be taken out before the final two. If Daniel's there, they might actually see him as someone who has done more in the game than Anika, and he might take it over her. But Kuzi's definitely, like, I think, leaning more Anika than she is leaning Daniel. But again, that could again just be because the way the question was is who do you think has the best shot to win? And they would had to give two people, and most of them were giving Anika and Claudia because I think they think Daniel and Ty are more likely to get voted out next before them two. It's wild. I think maybe Anika and Claudia would be the closest matchup on who would win. I'm not sure, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What did you think of the episode? What did you think of the Wendy's points and how that all took place? And who do you think is going to be making it further? Who do you think is going to lock themselves up a spot in the final three by winning this HOH? Also, again, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, you never miss a stream. Like I said, you can also check out the links to all my socials in the description down below, my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord, Kick. Go follow all that stuff because next Thursday we will be having a big celebration, not only for the finale of BBCan, but also my birthday. So it'll be a good old time. Make sure you hang out with us on that. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you next time.